Today we're going to learn just some oil pastel techniques. So here I have a nice beautiful tray of oil pastels. You will realize very quickly they don't stay beautiful for long. You will eventually have to peel the wrappers off. They'll become little stubs. We're going to talk about heavy pressure blending. So when I say heavy pressure, that means we're pressing hard, right? And we want to pick colors that are going to blend into one another. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my blue, and basically I'm just going to blend these colors across. And I'm pressing hard, not so hard you're breaking it. So I'm going to go about halfway here, and then I don't want to get to my lightest color. I'm going to take my green, and I'm going to layer this green a little bit on top of this blue, so that way they transition. And I'll do the same thing. I'll make this come out a little bit. And then I'll take my lightest color here, I'll layer it a bit on top and bring it out. So that way it looks like they all naturally, like there's a natural progression into each color there. So that's just heavy pressure blending. Now I can do the same thing using light pressure. So maybe I'll switch colors here. I'll move into the warm color family. I'll do some oranges into yellow. I'm just going to really focus almost on like hatching marks, like just making some marks in the same direction. Notice how when you use lighter pressure, it really is a difference from the heavy pressure. The white of the paper is coming through a bit more. So here I'll just layer lightly on top, move it out, and there you go. So to me this looks a lot like just kind of like crayon. I could maybe press down a little bit more in here just to give it a little more effect. Generally, when I work with oil pastels, I do like the heavy pressure look because to me it appears more like paint versus the light pressure, but obviously everybody's your own artist, so you choose your own style. All right, and so for fading colors, for this actually I want us to work with almost a value scale here. So I'm gonna use this and I'm going to lighten it up, right? Value scale means darks and lights. But I'm going to let this color fade into white. So I'm layering white on top about halfway through, and then I make a natural, nice, pretty progression of color, transitions of color. So I'm letting that color fade into white. I could also do that with black. Generally, when I do it with black, I actually like to start with black. Black is such a heavy color, and then I'll layer my color on top of the black. You're not going to see it a ton, but then it kind of picks up some of that black and it lets the colors transition nicely. So really, fading colors I should put here, mix with white, mix with black. Now color mixing, think like a painter. So if I take red, I layer yellow on top, what should happen is I should start to see an orange appear because red plus yellow equals orange. Red and yellow are primary colors. Orange would be the secondary color that they create. Let's move on. Maybe I do blue and then I layer red on top of blue. And I notice a violet appearing. Maybe I just want to layer neighboring colors and see what kind of colors I can make by mixing. So here I have a yellow orange. What happens if I put an orange on top of that? What happens if I put a yellow on top of that? Right? See how rich and beautiful you can make these colors. So this would be good, again, like for sunset, if you're making like an image of a fireplace with flames, layering all these warm colors would look very beautiful. If you're trying to go for like a rich night sky or something made of velvet, you would layer to get these deep colors here. So that's color mixing. Now the problem with oil pastels and color mixing, if you look here, right? This yellow now has like all this red all over it. So generally I'll take like a scrap sheet of paper and I'll just try to clean off that oil pastel by rubbing it on a scrap sheet of paper, just so the person after me doesn't get it and go, oh my goodness. And you might not have every single color that I have to be able to like play around with so many different color blends. So just use what you have. Graffito is a pretty fun one. I like Graffito. So I'm going to take a color, and I want you to pick a lighter color. So I have a pink here. Maybe I'll do a little bit of like blending. So I'll do a pink. Maybe this pink will move into a yellow orange. That's pretty. I like that. Now take a darker color, layer that on top. You're naturally going to see a little bit of color mixing, but that's not what the point of this is. Sgraffito means to scratch. So now what I want you to do is I want you to scratch through the top layer of Oil Pastel, create a design with this little stick here. This is a stylus. You can get these from me. And that bottom layer of color should start shining through. And the beauty about this, you can make really thin lines, you can make them big, scratch a lot away so we can see more of the color coming through. I've made an image where I drew an entire castle by doing this method. It was super, super fun. Here I'm just kind of making lines, whatever you want to do here. All right, so that is Sgraffito, to scratch. Okay, and lastly, I'm gonna do stippling. So stippling is just small little marks. Some artists like to be really controlled with their stippling. Some artists like to move a little more free. Notice how I put a few colors in here. This would be good for textures. The colors I'm choosing here just remind me of like a tree trunk. And then we have scumbling. I also enjoy scumbling a lot. Scumbling we've learned in some of our other skill builders. So this is a type of scribble, circular motion. This provides a lot of energy to some artworks. Again, I do like to layer colors in as I scumble. I think of like impressionist painters when I see scumble, like just loose, giving the gist of it, not going into really tight details. It's just so soft and pretty. All right, so these are just some basic oil pastel techniques. There's 1,000 more I could teach you, but these are basics that you can use in your future artworks.